Good morning, sports fans from all around the globe. I am your host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is your breakfast bankroll for Thursday, May 19th, 2022. And today we are blessed to have a great friend of the show, Mr. Brady Tinker, who's going to give us the full report of what's going on in the Lone Star State of Dallas. And boy, have they been busy between the Mavericks, the Stars, of course, the Cowboys who never sleep, and much more. Even the Texas Rangers, if we have a few minutes. But without further ado, let's bring him in, the one and only Mr. Brady Tinker.
Good morning, Jeffrey. How you doing, buddy?
I am doing great. Last time we talked, we were getting ready for the draft. The draft's long gone, and since then, you had talked about this man named Luka and how even down against, I think it was the Jazz, the first series, that was no problem. I know I've been following your timeline, and you were pretty adamant that you thought you had a good chance against the Suns. Obviously, if you thought that Luka was going to score 27 and the Suns were going to score 27 and up 30 at half, God bless you. As our buddy Dave Sharapan says, you must have had Biff's almanac. But great times are right now in your state. Tell us about Luka. Tell us about the Mavericks. Tough game one, but I think that was to be expected.
You know, great things for the state of Texas, really, and certainly the city of Dallas and the Fort Worth area, because team sports, if you're a true sports fan, which I assume everyone watching is, whether you like the gambling end of it or the fantasy end of it, or just straight up you're a passionate person, when you have teams that you're proud of, not just teams that are good, but teams that you're proud of because they don't back down, because they just keep coming. Because their will might be better than your will, then you blow up a little bit. You know, there's nothing that does more for a city than winning championships. This was magic around here in the early 90s with the Dallas Cowboys. The economy's better, everything's better, and it follows sports. But the Mavericks team and the Stars team both were certainly slightly undermanned, quite a bit undervalued and doubted in both their series. And the Stars did not end up winning, but they played a fantastic series, probably saved a coach a job, introduced the world of hockey to a star goalie who absolutely just never blinked. And on the Mavericks side, yeah, I didn't, that was as much about Utah in that first series as it was about the Mavericks. I didn't think Utah had the gumption nor the singular focus looking down the road that we're us and we know exactly how we play. And I knew the Mavericks did. And I thought that their toughness would win out. I wouldn't have predicted a Game 7 win in Phoenix even if you'd asked me the night before after a really good Game 6, because the Mavericks don't win in Phoenix, and Phoenix doesn't lose in Phoenix, especially in big games. And Chris Paul is one of those veteran guys that will make the difference, as Jason Kidd did years ago in 2011 for the Mavericks. So it was shocking to me how good the Mavericks were in Game 7. Every shot went in, how confident they were. But it was more shocking to see that Phoenix did not have the stomach for the fight. That absolutely shocked me. And a little insight to that, in Game 1 in Phoenix, where the Mavs got handled pretty good, as they did in Game 2, Devin Booker very early on shot his mouth off in Game 2 several Dallas Mavericks. At one point, he ran over Jalen Brunson, scored on him for an and one, and leaned over him. And the quote, I understand, this is what I get from others who were there, essentially was, "You're a P, you're all Ps, and the truth is you're just in our damn way. Get out of the way." And I want to tell you what, Dorian Finney-Smith is not the best basketball player ever, but he is a tough SOB. And so is Maxi Kleber. And so are some of these names that NBA fans are now seeing. They're not unbelievable otherworld athletes, but will they do their damn job and stand in and take all 6 fouls they got and go get every 50-50 ball? They will. And will they do it for the full 48? They will. And it turned out Phoenix wouldn't.
I was getting ready for Monday's card, and I had the game on in the background. And then, of course, you follow Twitter and the timelines and the tweets. And at first, it was like comical because, all right, Dallas up 8, Dallas up 10. Dallas up 15, and then you just waited. Everyone's talking about the in-game
Sure.
lines. It's a game 7. I mean, the Suns were the favorites, not just to win the West, but to win the title. And they're at home, so you were just waiting and anticipating. Okay, there's a run coming. And it was almost like quicksand, Brady, where when these stars feel it and they get in the zone. I was privileged and blessed to watch Larry Bird. And when Larry was on, it didn't matter. He'd look you straight in the eye and he'd say, Brady, I'm going to shoot a 3 right here on you, and there's nothing you can do. And he would drain it.
Yeah.
And then right before the end of the half, Luka was just toying with him, just ripped the heart out of the Suns, ripped it right out.
He did, no doubt about it. And everything he did physically as a player said this is a top 5 player in this league already, no doubt about it. He needs to grow up a little bit, and he's only just 23 years old, so that will happen. Less palms up, less looking at the officials, less whining about every call. The league is wearing me out in one way, and that is offensive players running into defensive players and flopping and getting fouls. It's a little embarrassing. These are the world's greatest athletes. And the league, by virtue of how they make calls, has taught offensive players the first thing you do is go run into the guy who's trying to cover you, and then you throw it up and you fall down and you beg for a call. You do this. It's embarrassing. So I wish the league would do something about it. And they said they were going to, right? There was an early last season thing on flopping, right? We're going to fine you to the side after games for flopping and for all of that stuff. But they haven't handled it as well. But overall, this Mavericks team isn't quite good enough, but it does remind this Dallas City a little bit of 2011, where we essentially had one superstar and a cast of characters. Now, Jason Kidd was a future Hall of Famer, but he was 35 or 6 or 7 years old, so he wasn't the athlete that he was. But his acumen was very Chris Paul, right, in that series, and they wouldn't have won without him. And then they added shooters, and Jason Terry, wasn't the best player ever, but he had, the heart of a bandit. He would shoot anytime, anywhere. And, they had a mix of people who were willing to do their job. And Rick Carlisle for years would say that. We won because we had veterans who wanted to win and who were willing to sacrifice and do their exact job and be happy about it. And this team has something similar to that. I'm not saying they're going to win the NBA Finals. This will be, as we saw last night, a very hard series. Golden State is a different animal than Phoenix. I don't care that Phoenix was the number 1 seed. In my mind, Golden State's been the number 1 seed for as soon as everyone got healthy. They're too fast on offense. They share the ball so beautifully. They're the antithesis of the Mavericks. They move fast. They quick pass. They really make you play defense, and you decide whether you're switching or not switching, and they make you make instant decisions. And the minute someone makes a bad decision, they make you pay, and they make you pay with either open threes or layups. And it's very hard for the Mavericks, and I thought that it would be, and it looked very hard last night. And the Mavericks are the other way around. They walk the ball up. Luka surveys, almost like Tom Brady, sauntering to the line of scrimmage. Okay, where's the weakness? I'm going to the weakness. Oh, wait, Chris Paul's guarding me. Well, I weigh 80 pounds more than him. I'm just backing him down, And it's a line for the Mavericks, too, because the ball pounding that Luka does and the amount of time sometimes that he takes to get in to decide what he's going to do, it's already 11 on the clock, 11, 10. Well, when they bring a late double team and he throws the quick pass, the Mavericks have 3-point shooters. But if I was weighing and measuring the Mavericks, I'd say, listen, I've seen Maxi Kleber have some good games. I'll let Maxi Kleber shoot threes. I will. I'll let Dorian Finney-Smith shoot threes. God, let Dwight Powell shoot a 3, and we'll live with that because we're better overall than them. And in the end, Phoenix probably should have been, and I think that Golden State will be. But I'll tell you this will not be a short series. Okay. Jason Kidd believes in this team, and they believe in him. And Jason Kidd is quirky and a bit of a pain for us sometimes. Not the most fun for us, but neither was Rick Carlisle. But in game and mentally, with the 3 series that he played in the NBA Finals and the one that he won, they listened to him. And Dirk is around this team all the time. And Dirk reminds these guys, we wouldn't have won in 2011. Jason Kidd did everything right. He got the ball where it needed to go. He would come in with those iron clamps and double down on somebody, backing someone down. Jason Kidd made all the difference in the world. Shut up and listen to him. And they have bought in, and they completely believe him. and obviously getting through these first two series now that they're fully on board. So this will be a 6 or 7 game series. I can't figure out how the Mavericks can win because I don't think they shoot well enough, and I don't think they're quite fast enough. This Golden State team, as it was in its real prime, is fast and athletic and long. And it's the reason everyone in the NBA shoots from 32 feet. They're so damn fast and long, right? That if you line up inside the three-point line or toes just on the three-point line, these athletes are fast enough to be 8 feet away and still get to you before you pull that shot. You saw Mavericks get 3 or 4 threes blocked last night. How often do you see threes getting blocked? No one does it because you don't want to put them on the line. They were so close to them and so athletic to get out on these threes. And they also know, because they're well coached, that Maxey and Dorian Finney-Smith and some of these other role players, when you fly on them, are not talented to then take the ball to the basket. Right? They're 3 and D guys. Oh, wait, people flying at me? Well, I should floor the basketball, go right around them, take a 8-foot mid-ranger, or kick to the middle, or kick to someone open, and it's not their area of expertise. And Phoenix knows it. So they're going to fly at all of our marginal three-point players saying, what are you going to do now? You're not going to floor it, so what are you going to do? And we're double teaming the slightly overweight superstar.
I'm excited. I think, looking outside in, I think game 2 will be a tougher battle. I would lean towards, again, Golden State winning a tougher game there, going back to Dallas. And obviously, game 3 becomes the pivotal game. Do we hold serve at home, make it a series, or does Golden State get that knockout punch and go up 3-0? Dallas has been phenomenal at home. I expect them to feed off of the crowd. A gun to my head, I think it goes back to Golden State 2-2 with the best of 3 again.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. It's going to be fun to watch. It really will. Notice, if you're a real fan, notice the dichotomy between these two teams of speed and sharing the ball, and the ball doesn't move. Golden State does not pound the basketball. Luka pounds the basketball until it doesn't have any air left. That's just what they're doing, right? They are a walk it up, slow it down, let Luka assess what's in front of him team. And there's that fine line between him holding on to it too long, and then he can't really make a shot sometimes, right? He's hot and he's cold, and all of a sudden, the Mavericks played, I think, in game 6 against Phoenix, game 5 against Phoenix, the Mavericks had 7 assists in the entire game. And that's that line between he's holding it a second too long. The ball's got to start weak side. It's got to come back strong side, right? You've got to make people move. You've got to have some action rather than a single high pick and roll 37 feet from the basket so that Luka gets the switch that he wants. That's it. Golden State was like, we're not playing that game. We'll just play box and one. You 4 stand in a circle. That guy's going to stay on him all the time. And if he beats him, every one of you have eyes on him and get in his way. And then kick it to shooters that we don't respect. It's a relatively easy game plan. So the Mavs will have to make some adjustments.
Behind me, Southern Hills. They have teed off as we speak.
Yep.
Your good friend, Mr. Jordan Spieth, looking for the Grand Slam. I think they said 6 or 7 people have that. I think it's 7. He had a great week last week. We've talked at length, whether we're on the air or we're in Vegas for the NFFC or NFBC, about Jordan. Give me your thoughts going into this weekend. Obviously, he's in form, as we like to say in the racing industry. What do you expect him?
Jordan specifically played really well last week. I think there's a few things that I don't like about this week for him. As well as he played, trying to win the Byron Nelson for Jordan is the 5th major. This is where he grew up. There are so many people here that support him and love him, and he wants to win the Byron Nelson 10 times for them, right? And for himself, but for them and for his family and for all the people in Dallas and the University of Texas and everyone else that support this kid. So that last week took a lot out of him. He played great golf. He shot 25 under and didn't win. So and I don't think he was devastated. I thought all the way to the end, he did almost everything right. He got a couple of bad breaks with balls coming up a little bit short. The wind was whirling and whipping. So you would think that carries him well into this championship. But I think, to be honest with you, it took a lot out of him. And so to get past Sunday, where he had, an eagle chip to go to a playoff, and then jump on a plane and get to a very difficult golf course. This is a you got to get off the tee on this golf course, and if you do, the major stat that will stand out here will be, strokes gained on approach. Who's in the fairway and hitting their irons nicely. And Jordan is a wizard with those irons. He can hit every shot he wants. He can hold it up. He can turn it over. He can do it's so much fun to watch his creativity, and you see it around the greens as well. But I'm worried that his driving accuracy will not hold up this week quite like it needs to for him to be able to contend, and that he's got a little hangover from coming so close to winning his tournament, where he had 4 or 5 different guys in town that were staying with him on the tour as well. He was host. He was everything. And he signed every autograph everywhere. You saw those videos. That's him. That's him. He is one of the nicest men and most honest, forthcoming men that you will ever meet. For guys like me, he's a joy, not just as a person, but to be a media guy. You ask a good question, you're going to get a damn good answer from Jordan Spieth. But it's not someone I would put money on this week. There are some higher dollar guys. Will Zalatoris is off, and a local guy is off to a very good start. Now, Will Zalatoris takes that putter kind of in and under and reroutes it, and sometimes you think you're looking at about a 12. If Will Zalatoris can figure out the putting stroke all the time, he's a top 5 player in the next 6 months to a year. And so I love him at plus 3,500. He's one of those guys. Victor Hovland has never finished better than 12th in a major yet. He went to Oklahoma State. He's played this golf course a lot. And guess what? He's 10th on the PGA Tour in strokes gained approach. Victor Hovland is very good with a long, middle, and short iron in his hand. So, and I can't remember. I think he's plus 3,500 as well. Sam Burns. It seems like the other day that Sam Burns, who no one had ever heard of, was paired with Tiger at some major. Do you remember that? He was paired with Tiger maybe 5 years ago to a major, and I was like, what the hell is that? Poor bastard, right? This is going to go badly for him. All of these people, And I remember, I think he beat Tiger by a stroke. I think it was Tiger 71, Sam Burns 70, and I was like, well, we're going to be hearing from him because his hang low. And Sam Burns is a player quietly on the rise, and he's plus 6,500. I'd get some of that. And you know what? I'll throw $10 on Tiger, because if he hits the ball in the fairway, there's never in the history of the game been a better iron player than Tiger. Never. So the thing that Tiger talks about, 2 things. One, he's still figuring out how far physically he will come. People see him walk and say, well, he still looks like he's hurting. That's his new walk. His new walk is that of a 60-year-old man with a new hip. It just is. And I don't think it's going to get much different. So it's not as bad as that walk looks. But he can't do what he used to do between the back and now the leg. He would stay on a putting green for 3, 4, 5, or 6 hours doing drills until, his drills were ridiculous. He'd have to make 50 10-footers in a row. And then he had to make 30 20-footers in a row. And he wouldn't leave until he did. If they had to turn lights on a car on, he would stay and do it. And he can't do it anymore. He can't stay and bend over those putts for that amount of hours. So it's all different. And so we saw it at the Masters round 1. He was awful with every club, but he made every putt because he's Tiger. But by the end of Saturday and Sunday, the putter was like, dude, we're worn out. Would you please hit a damn green? And so those are the differences in Tiger. But at plus 6,500, I'm interested in some of that too. If you say who's going to win right now without looking at the leaderboard, Patrick Cantlay probably has the best all-around game, where I look at him and I say, there's not a damn weakness anywhere. He misses 2 or 3 fairways around. His irons are brilliant. He can hit it high. He can hit it low. He can chip it, and he can putt it, and he's not afraid of anything. So for a really difficult golf course, it's going to take 4 days of ball striking and making putts and the key up and downs. I would pick Cantlay, and he's plus 1,600.
Love the analysis. We had Dubs Anderson on 2 days ago, and a firecracker, and he was spitting talking about a few of the Aussies. He was talking some of the names that you were talking about. Yesterday we had Rob on talking, same thing. It's amazing how each individual can dissect a card. And for instance, this tournament with 140 plus, but the difference is there is so many past championship amateurs, whatever. So technically, there's maybe 100 guys on that board, and then from there, you can shrink it to however you can feel like you talked about, you're going to have to get in the fairway. You're going to need strong iron play. The bunkers all around the greens, if you're not a good bunker player, could cause problems.
Yep.
Everyone I've talked to, there'll be no 250 to 1 winning it this year, a la Lefty. I've talked to a lot of people that love Cantlay. The two models that we use, shockingly, they both came up with JT. And the thing with JT is, I don't know if it's the blade, it's between the ears. JT will hit 10 great shots and then one bad shot, and he'll carry it around with him, it seems, for 2 or 3 holes.
Yeah, the first 4 names I wrote down were Rahm, Scheffler, Justin, and Rory. Those are the first 4 names I wrote down. Rahm really is always a great candidate to win at a hard golf course. He's really, really good. He got to number 1 for a reason. And Scheffler's the hottest player on the planet. He already won 4 or 5 tournaments? He's a Texas kid. You want to talk about another nice guy that you would like? Scotty Scheffler's wonderful. You know when I learned to love Scotty? I went to watch 2 years ago. Romo got into the Byron, right? They love to do that. And they were playing at the course that they played at for 2 years that Crenshaw designed that I really liked, that the players didn't like. And Scheffler was paired with Romo in round 1. And it was a zoo because Scheffler's a local guy, so he's got some following, and Tony's Tony. So on Thursday, let's go watch the novelty that is the quarterback trying to play on the PGA Tour. And in the first 9 holes, Tony went to 9, 2 under. And then flipped, on a very long, tough hole, flipped his driver because his legs are so active, flipped his driver straight left into the woods. And it only went about 180 yards off the tee. And he had about 400 left to a par 4. He made double. And that was kind of it. But from that point on, as he began to come apart a little bit, he was hitting it here and he was hitting it there. And Scheffler was so kind to him. He hit a couple of shots that were like, are they even on the planet? And Scheffler was looking at him saying, it's okay, I got it, it's over here, as you would in a friend's game, And I thought, man, if you're playing with him, even though he is a local legend, but it's your job, Scotty Scheffler trying to win money, right? And it's his job. Might a pairing with Romo be a hassle, right? Or be something you really didn't want? And instead, he was so kind to Tony and so supportive to Tony all the way through the round. It never bothered Scotty a bit. He ended up shooting a very good round that day. And I'm so impressed with just his kindness and the maturity that he had to be able to handle the zoo that was Romo on Thursday at the Byron and play well through it. And I was just like, man, I knew I liked this kid, but I really like him now. And then the 3 and 4, I have Justin and Rory at 3 and 4, 2 of the best ball strikers ever put on the planet. And I wrote next to both of them, can they putt well enough? Especially, that's always the thing. And both of them, right, especially Rory, we've seen it, but both of them can go to a ball striking clinic where you're like, well, hardly anyone's got a chance now. Rory's hitting 310 yard in the air bombs right down the middle, getting to, middle irons. And if he makes enough putts, then we can all just watch and enjoy. And we've seen that. And he's off to a good start, by the way, here on Thursday. And Justin the same. But I sort of pushed all of those people aside because I just felt like there were cool stories elsewhere that maybe guys matched up with this course. And you're right. I mean, though, when Tiger was winning a lot of majors, let's go back and look at some of those. And I love Tiger. But there were probably 10 people in the field, maybe less, that actually could have won. Now, even as hard as this golf course is, I can probably find you easily 20 names in this field that it would not knock me over if they won this PGA championship. And so it's just, golf is better. Tiger made golf better, right? And brought more fans to it and brought more money to it and brought more kids to it. And that's all absolutely true. But golf is better. It's better.
And I'll close the golf here with this. Is what really kills me is, and I've said this for a long, long time, and this is true. Rory has another gear in that bag that no one else has on the tour. He can take it to a level that no one can reach. And it's kind of one of the disappointing with Rory again happened in the Masters. Makes the cut, doesn't do well on moving day, has no chance other than aiming for pins on Sunday, and just absolutely electric. Holds out on 18. It was just phenomenal. He is so dangerous if he got off to a good start, makes the cut, has a great moving day, and we haven't seen that. But he has that lap the field and who's playing for second, like Tiger used to have in his prime.
He does. There's no doubt about it. And, for years, I pushed him aside because I thought, you could be so much better. The jerk in me was like, why aren't you better? When the truth is he's top 10, on the PGA Tour all the time. He plays all around the world, and shut up, Brady. But, I being a golfer and a college golfer, a bad college golfer myself, I watch him and I just think, man, if you suck with a wedge in your hand, then please go hit 58,000 wedges, because you hit driver 400 yards right down the middle over and over again. And how can you be bad with the most important club in your bag aside from your putter? And those, I used to and then I was like, you know what? He's very likable. He is who he is. We all are who we are. You know what I mean? And that's the mistake you make in is you say, gosh, if I just want him to be like this, would he be just like this? Well, they are who they are, and Rory is affable and talented and comes and goes a little bit in what has been a Hall of Fame career. And I need to shut up and appreciate how good he is, especially when he's great. His greatness is worth just sitting back and getting a cold and just going, holy crap. Very few in the history of the game can do that. Very few. So anyway, we got to get to the draft. Let's get to this Cowboys draft.
Yes, we had you on for the draft.
Yeah.
We talked about some expectations, and you were, talked about what you thought they would do. And now we are at the point where, as you said, it's football season, mini camps, OTAs, getting this team together. So talk us through the draft, what they did, what surprised you, what you're hearing, where they are, and what you're expecting.
Well, rookie camp was pretty good. Everybody was pretty happy. Nobody got hurt. There was a lot of energy. I was disappointed with the draft rates lower for me than it probably should, because I feel like the Cowboys in round 1 and 2 took 2 position players that they felt they had to take, sort of no matter who it was. And so as the offensive linemen began to fall off the board, and Steven decided not to trade up in this draft to make sure he got, a really good offensive lineman, they had fallen in love with Tyler Smith from Tulsa. Now, the problem is, and you know what? Offensive linemen are different, right? I mean, they moved up to 30th or whatever, 32nd to get Travis Frederick some years ago. And everyone was like, what are you doing? Could have got him in the 3rd. Well, Will McClay and his people who assess players and set these drafts up is very good at what he does. Will McClay, the Cowboys have had to pay him a lot of money to keep him in the house. Will McClay's a GM waiting to happen. But at this point, they're always ready. And if you look at the Cowboys' first-round picks, essentially, and second-round picks in the last 10 years, they've got 7 or 8 all-pros. So it's been very, very good. And so I was disappointed in the fact that I think the Cowboys fell in love with Tyler Smith and Sam Williams months ago. They enjoyed their visits when they came. They had the right personalities, and they played the right positions. A swing tackle who will probably start. Smith probably starts at left guard, and they'll let Steele play right tackle, and they'll hope that Tyron can make it through more than 7 or 8 games at left tackle, the great Tyron Smith. And that's what they're going to do. Tyler Smith has some dog in him. He's big. He's athletic. He's a fierce man. He's a very, very good run blocker. He's not a great pass blocker, and he's a penalty machine. And so that's going to be footwork and attention to detail. But if you talk to him and you listen to him, and I've listened on a couple of calls, I haven't met him yet. You like him. You like him. He ain't afraid. He's not. He's intelligent. He thinks he's a bad man. He knows what he's going to have to do in this league. He knows he has a lot of work to do in this league. So the pick disappointed me because they were choosing offensive tackle at this spot. They just were. So you can show me a board all you want, but Tyler Smith wasn't rated 5th or 6th on your board. Just give me an effing break. If for no other reason, then he didn't have to be, right? So you can tell me he can jump and he can run and he did great on the written test and all of that stuff. I'm good with all that. But you don't put a player that no one else in the league is going to draft before 40 as the 5th rated player on your board. You just don't. You move up and get an offensive tackle. And then if you want to circle back early in round 2 and move up again and take Tyler Smith and get 2 offensive linemen, which they would have certainly been smart to do, I'm good with that. So this may turn out fine. but this kid's raw. Let's just use a simple word. He's raw, and that's your first pick. So I'm disappointed that they sort of fell in love with him. I know they spent a lot of time with him, and that they got stuck there instead of doing probably what their brains knew they should do, which is move up to 15 or 16 and take one of the 2 or 3 interior linemen who also had potential tackle written all over them and get the player that you needed. So that's what they did in round 1. In round 2, they like Sam Williams a lot. Again, Sam Williams is very athletic. And I'll remind me to get to my final point about these two in a minute. Sam Williams is very athletic. He has a very quick get off. And they were desperate for pass rushers, right? Why were they desperate for pass rushers and offensive tackles? Why? Because because La'el Collins, for whatever reason, is gone. Why is La'el Collins at age 27 or 8 and a bad man and a road grader and a right tackle who can now move to left tackle when Tyron can't play it anymore? Why is he gone? I understand that he disappointed you with the positive test, and I don't know whether he tried to bribe somebody or not. And you know what? I don't give a damn. He wasn't that expensive. It was a pretty good contract they had him under for another couple of years. Why is late 20s Tyron Smith, who Jerry would always say is one of the dogs in our locker room, when we're in a fight, Tyron Smith's going to be the first one there, and everyone's going to go, damn, don't want to fight him. They loved all that. And I knew Tyron Smith pretty well. La'el Collins pretty well. I don't understand why he's gone. And the same with Randy Gregory. This whole pissing contest about, well, we have to have this clause in here that if he tests positive for some banned substance or he gets suspended for some reason, then we can void the entire contract. I didn't really know that was something that a lot of the teams are putting in contracts. The Cowboys swear that it's in every single contract that they have, except for Dak Prescott's. Randy's point was, you've been through all of this with me, and I haven't tested positive for anything, and it's 2 years. I'm running the straight and narrow, and I am also a dog who's a great athlete who can get parallel almost to the damn ground like Hall of Famer that was here forever. And I can do all of that. And now he's gone, and I don't understand that either. The money was exactly the same. Don't make it public. Take that little asterisk off the bottom of the contract and run a little bit of a gamble that he tests positive for some substance. I don't think he's going to. I think he got past a hump. And the truth is, that kid's not a drug addict. He smoked marijuana his whole damn life because he had a social disorder. He was terrified to talk to people, right? And he had trouble making friends in junior high and high school. And literally, marijuana mellowed him out enough so that he didn't want to turn around and run for the door. It's as simple as that. And now the league is also backing off the marijuana thing quite a bit anyway, as we all know, right? Which they should. And there's no reason those two guys are gone. But those two guys are gone, and you went out and you talked yourself into the fact that these are clones of those two guys. Tyler Smith is La'el Collins. Well, okay, he might be. And Sam Williams is Randy Gregory. Okay, he might be. But you probably reached a little bit on these two guys. And I hate starting a draft that was so important for this team with a couple of marginal reaches. Not that these players won't be there, but that part I didn't like. So it set the rest of the draft back for me a little bit. Jalen Tolbert, the wide receiver from South Alabama, is exciting. And they're also, they're bumping their heads against this same thing. Dak doesn't want to throw to anyone who's not open. So one of Jalen Tolbert's things is vertical speed is something else. And he's also great at the contested ball. And I'm like, well, that doesn't matter. Dak doesn't throw a ball that's contested. And yet he's got two receivers that are great at the 50-50 ball or the contested ball, because Michael Gallup, when healthy, is a beast at going and getting a football that's thrown somewhere around him. But you can't get the quarterback to throw the ball to a little bitty window when he doesn't think someone's open. And the better teams you play and the deeper you get into playoff runs, the windows aren't going to be open. They're not. So you're going to have to trust your athletes around you and the people that you see. And that's something that Dak still has to overcome. So one of Jalen Tolbert's number one things is, I'll go get the contested catch. Well, you won't have to. You better just get open. Jake Ferguson, the tight end they chose in round 4 from Wisconsin, they lost one tight end to injury and who left, and then they slapped the tag on Dalton Schultz, which, Dalton Schultz is a cool guy, and Wally pipped the last tight end and came in here and worked his ass off and had lots of catches. And he's Jay Novacek, yet not as athletic for this quarterback. And so this quarterback said, I really need that guy. And so they slap a tag on him. And it won't surprise me if they just pay him the tag number and see what happens with tight ends next year. That won't shock me. But in doing that, they knew they needed a tight end. And they also, as good as Dalton Schultz was at catching passes and scoring 6 or 8 touchdowns or whatever it was, and he was very good last year for this quarterback and important for him, he can't block. And it just kept showing up, even to the layman on TV of, here he is out, on a cornerback or a safety, and he can't get the right angle and he can't get hands on him. And it's just like, okay, come on. Really? This has got to be effort, like playing defense in basketball. Blocking a frigging safety is going to be about effort and angles and approach and want to. And as much as I like him, Dalton Schultz is a terrible blocker. So they went out and got Jake Ferguson from Wisconsin, who's a good blocker. And who's a little hybridy, and they can line him up a little bit if they want to at fullback sometimes and move him around and do some different things with him. And then apparently he blew everybody away at rookie camp for whatever that's worth. There's no pads, there's a helmet, whatever. But Jake Ferguson was a big hit at rookie camp.
We got a few minutes here. I just wanted to ask your opinion, and I know I was watching the draft and obviously the first round, and the infatuation of the draft, I think, really heated up, let's say 6 through 10. And then we knew the big run for the wide receivers was coming, and Detroit moves up. And then as soon as Detroit moves up, Philly says, not so fast. I thought Philly was moving up to get Jameson Williams, Detroit nabs him. And then in their back pocket, Philly pulls out A.J. Brown, and they had a fabulous draft. At any point, as you especially now, knowing the Cowboys inside out, is there any all of a sudden like, oh my God, look at what Philly's doing, and they didn't blink? Or, I mean, if you were comparing the two drafts, I don't even think it's close, Brady.
I agree. And yes, for whatever expert I am, which I don't know much more than anybody else, except I'm closer to some of these stories, Philadelphia kicked ass and put themselves in a position with a quarterback that they're still not positive about. But don't worry, they've got 2 firsts and 2 seconds again next year, and one of their firsts is in the top 4 or 5 or 6 or whatever. So if this quarterback isn't it after this year, but this team is rounded into shape because of a couple of these drafts, and then they made the playoffs, right? What's better than them making the playoffs and having that experience for some of these players that they think are going to be players? Nothing. It was fantastic. Last year was perfect for them, and this draft was perfect for them, and now they are set up to fix whatever they need to fix in the offseason next year. So absolutely, Philadelphia is the team in the NFC East with the arrow pointed way up, no doubt about that. And team speed, they show up fast. They're fast, and it reminds me of Jimmy's teams. Give me all these fast guys, I'll teach them how to play. And yes, Philadelphia was outstanding. Serve notice, and it might be part of the reason that I'm cranky about the Cowboys draft. Here's Philadelphia giving themselves option after option after option to be able to do this, and then be able to do this, and be able to do this, and we're building ourselves for this year, but we'll be better next year, and we're going to own this division in the next 2 or 3 or 4 years. While the Cowboys are saying, well, we felt like Lyle pissed us off, so we had to let him go. And Randy, well, he may let us down, so we had to let him go. And so we got to cover those losses, right? And we sort of need help in the secondary. We really needed a safety. And when we went into that draft, I'm like, the Cowboys need to absolutely kick ass in this draft to be able to be a 10 or 11 win team next year. And I'm not sure that they did. I'm really not. And I'm certain that Philadelphia did.
Well, what you're talking about 100% sounded like the Patriots draft as well. They're drafting guys that everyone's rolling over the shoulder. Even I think McVay was live, and he's like, "What? Yeah. I guess we don't have to worry about him at 50. He just went in."
No, it was even later than that, wasn't it? It was like 110 or something. Yeah, we were considering him at 110. What a douchey thing to get caught saying about one of the greatest coaches ever, but he wasn't necessarily wrong. And Bill's been known to do that.
Very much so. The crawler's been working the whole time. You can find Brady at A Cowboy Life at DFW Sports Beat, off with the Helmets Cowboy Show, ESPN Radio. Brady, close this out. Tell everyone anywhere else they can find you on social media, or what should they be looking for?
No, that's good. My team has been on me about more tweets, so it'll be a lot more tweets at A Cowboy Life, which is my podcast that I'm very proud of. So even if you're not a Cowboy fan, my favorite thing to have done in 25 years of covering these teams is, as I got older, getting to know some of the players every year, finding out. I would go find a story about an offensive lineman that something happened to him in junior high with his preacher or something, and I would go talk to them, and they would be like, wow, you did a little homework. Okay, I'll tell you something because you took a little time to find out about me. And I turned that into a business, and The podcast is called A Cowboy Life, the podcast. It's audio. It's all edited. So there's no, you get in a good conversation. Half that conversation is still crappy. You're waiting for the meat. I take the meat out of these conversations and these stories and edit it, put it all together. I call people that the player mentions were important to them, a coach, a preacher, a mother, a former player, whatever it may be. We get their voices in there as well. We edit it all together. We add music to it, and I narrate it to get you from point to point to point. And it really, it's what I'm most proud of that I've ever done in my life. So if you like stories, you can hate the Cowboys. These aren't, hardly any of these stories have a Cowboy telling me about 300 yards passing. These are stories about their lives and people that helped them get to where they were and what's important to them in their lives. And some of them are really great stories. And so it's about past guys too. It's about some of the famous guys, Drew Pearson and Cliff Harris and Charlie Waters and Randy White, Too Tall Jones, a lot of those guys too. But you can hate the Cowboys, but I still challenge you that I think you'll like these stories. If you like turning on a podcast and driving down the road for 30 minutes at a time and getting a story, I think you'll like it.
Thank you again, Brady. So catch him everywhere at A Cowboy Life at DW Sports Beat. Off with Helmets.
Off with the Helmets, yep.
Cowboy Show at ESPN Radio. We will have you back, Brady. If the Mavericks make it to the finals, it might be versus the Heat. It might be versus my Celtics. Otherwise, we will definitely catch up to you as the camps get rolling and the preseason get going. Thank you so much, Brady. Have a blessed day.
One last note. I know you know this. If the Mavericks and the Heat play in the finals, the Mavericks will have been to 3 NBA finals and played the Miami Heat in all 3.
The trilogy gets set.
Yeah. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.